Looking to go through the transition.
You need support. I think support is a massive thing because you need to make sure that you've got a lot of support around you. And
So is that like family support, you mean?
yeah, or it could be sort of friends, it could be anything, but just sort of make sure that you're doing it for you, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, it's your life, and you can't be living to please other people.
Yeah.
Because if we all do that, you know what I mean. It's not a healthy way to live.
So what age was you when you had these feelings that you wasn't right?
So I was really, really young. I sort of, kept asking my mum, sort of, when am I going to be a boy and stuff like that. But then other people can turn around and say, well, that could have just been a thing that, would go away, or sort of, I would grow out of it. And, it was just a phase. But then I sort of, as I got really older, well, not really older, but you know what I mean. And that's when it started becoming worse, sort of when I was going through puberty and stuff like that. And I was also still in, obviously, secondary school. And also sort of being bullied throughout all of that sort of made it worse. I didn't get bullied because of anything to do with my gender. But yeah, it was sort of growing up was sort of when it became more apparent and more sort of that I wanted to sort of be who I wanted.
Aaron,
Yeah.
were you like ever concerned that you would? So when you got the top surgery, were you ever like worried? Was it ever in the back of your mind that you might regret it?
I think it's natural to feel like that, and I did at a point, but then I thought that, this is sort of something that I've wanted for all of my life. And it's also something that, is a part of me. And I don't, as well, I think I definitely do not regret who I was as a person, because it wouldn't have made who I am today. I've learned from that, and all sort of the hard experiences I went through to get is where I am today. So I don't regret sort of anything to do with being who I was and, being a girl and sort of my childhood, because it wouldn't have shaped into who I was today, if that makes sense.
What was your parents like when you told them?
Honestly, my dad is old school, but I think if you're expecting them to sort of adapt to this change, you've got to be really patient, because it's obviously a huge thing for the person that's transitioning, but it's a huge thing for your parents, because they've grown up, especially my mum, for example. She's obviously grown up me being her daughter, and I think what I would say to a lot of people, parents, is sort of, just support them, because obviously it's a big change for them as well. And I think people obviously who are obviously going through the transition need to recognise that, and they're bound to make mistakes. They're bound to sort of take a long time to get used to the idea, because you can't expect anybody to just wake up and forget. I wouldn't just expect them to wake up and, forget who I was and, the girl that I was. So I suppose just be patient and be willing to be educated and learn, because that's a really, really, really big thing to trans people, that you're taking the time in, learning. But eventually, they got used to it. Which I'm obviously really happy about, because this is who I am at the end of the day, and it's never gonna go away. It's a huge part of who I am. But yeah, so at first it was hard, but they got used to it. And I also have a little sister as well, and I think she's amazing, and she just sort of adapted to it. But yeah, so it was hard at first, and obviously it's going to be hardest first because it's such a massive thing for anybody. within the sort of LGBTQ community, but it was, yeah.
Very well
Sorry.
spoken.
What's your opinion on the
Really
toilet
proud of
situation? Do you feel that like
It's a really hard one, and I've been in Angie's box before, and Angie actually asked me this. To be fair, I use the men's toilets, but I go in there and have a piss. You know what I mean? Like I do obviously use the cubicle. In the whole sort of debate of women, trans women going in sort of biological females' toilets, and at the end of the day, the way sort of I see it, I just sort of like go in and have a wee and sort of do what I need to do and leave. But there is sort of a lot of debate around sort of toilets and sort of, men can just say they're women to then go into, biological females' toilets. Like, do you know what I mean? So there's that whole situation. Yeah, so I obviously use a cubicle, because I obviously cannot use the urinal, but I just sort of go in and just leave, I suppose. But yeah. But like I say, it's a really, contentious sort of issue.
Your question, Aaron. Have you had the full surgery? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
I've had top surgery. I haven't had bottom surgery because, one, it's about 10 years on an NHS waiting list. And if I went private, it's about £20,000. So if I was in a position to get it, I would consider it. If I was one of these people like, I don't know, one of like a big creator on here and, had the funds, to actually be in a position to do that.
Look, Alpha Bar, if you'd got all that money, you would have spent it. You haven't got
so? Don't they say that like obviously female transitioning or male, isn't that bottom surgery like a lot more like dangerous and like tricky to do compared to the other way around?
And that's why I use the word consider, because there's a lot of risks with, one, how it's actually done and how they actually do it. And I think if I was a position when, I did have money, I would consider it. But, the risks for me personally outweigh the benefits of doing it, if that makes sense. I mean, the only reason why I got top surgery was because I was in a position, well, it was sort of an unfortunate position that led me to basically have the money to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that they do it as well, it's really sort of, invasive, and I think that is like, that area is very, very, very sort of invasive, whether if anything were to go wrong, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? If someone hasn't had the full surgery, yeah, what would be the difference between someone that's a cross dresser to someone that's trans?
I think because a cross dresser, they don't medically and socially transition.
Sorry, it's really hard to hear.
Yeah, but the thing is, Owen, I did actually research a little bit, and I said that as a trans woman or male, that you don't actually have to transition to be identified as trans. So I'm like really confused, and I don't know if that's wrong information or what.
So, because for some people they can't obviously afford. There's a lot of really.
Once, Aaron, you're really it's really hard
You got your hand over your mic.
Can you hear us better now?
Yeah.
That's better.
For some people, I can't speak for the whole entire community, but some don't, transition more than others, maybe because they can't or they can't afford it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that might stop someone from, doing it. But there's sort of loads of other ways you can sort of transition without, getting top surgery. Like you can socially transition by, do sort of simple things of changing.
But Aaron, what about those who don't actually get like the hormones or anything, and who don't even socially transition? Do you not think that's a bit of an insult to people like you who really do make the effort to transition?
Some comments, because they keep going so fast, but there was obviously someone like Alphaba. Now, in my personal opinion, I think I can't sit there and go, you are not transgender, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't sit there and tell them what their identity is, but at the same time, it annoys me a little bit because someone like that is in a position far off than other people are. And, she's had a lot of opportunities, you know what I mean, compared to other people who might have not had them opportunities that she's had. And it does sort of piss me off a bit because, I mean, especially with someone like Alpha, like, she's had so many opportunities and she's not, like, done anything. Do you know what I mean?
Use the money for what she said she was going to use it for.
I do understand why people do identify Alpha and that as a male, because if you haven't had the surgery or don't wish to transition, then, you just, a cross-dresser. Some people might see that, and I don't want to be transphobic. I do understand that, some people might feel that way. But what my research said to me was that you don't have to transition or take hormone medication to transition, to be identified as a woman.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, everybody's
weird.
You got your hand over your mic again, Aaron.
Can you hear us better now? It's this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, everybody's different. Everybody's got different situations. Everybody's got sort of reasons for doing the things that they choose to do.
Can I ask you a question, Aaron? Because you identify as a male. So would you use the male changing rooms and the toilets?
In what?
I mean, you don't have to answer any questions, by the way.
Oh, no, it's okay. So, for example, if I was going to the gym, I would change before, obviously, I get there. So I can just go in, put the stuff in my bag, leave, and then, when I get home, obviously have a shower. So I don't change, and I sort of don't really do anything that would need me to go in a changing room. Like, I don't, I don't swim. Like, obviously, when I used to go to the gym, I just sort of get.
What about when you're in the public and you go into the pub? They've got the male and the female toilets. What toilets would you use?
If I went to where? Sorry, the park?
The pub. You're a little bit muffled, Aaron.
Is this
pretty hard to hear?
I feel like I'm shout, but obviously I'm not shouting, I'm just speaking loud enough. Like I said, if I went to somewhere like that, I'd go in the men's because I'm very male, and I've got a full beard, I've got sort of facial hair. So if I walked into a female toilet, they look at me and go, "What the fuck are you doing in here?"
You sound male as well. Where some trans women, they still sound male.
Yeah, because
hand over mic again, Aaron.
Well, like I say, I've been on that's all. And I think naturally as well, I was sort of gifted with a natural sort of deep voice. Like, my voice when I was a woman wasn't really very feminine anyway. So that was sort of a blessing in disguise, I suppose.
Yeah. Hormones, yeah, you and all that, because that changes your voice, doesn't it?
Yes, so because you can get them in, from what I know, 2 different formats. So you can have gel, which you need to put on like every single day, which I was on. But now I get it from the doctors and I just sort of get an injection every 3 weeks. But I've been on it since February 22, I think. So,
Can I ask you another question, Evan? Do you think it's it's mental health or not?
I was saying in the comments before, it affects you mentally. So having like gender dysphoria and stuff, it makes you have mental health effects. It makes you depressed. It makes you doesn't want to leave the house. Before I had surgery, I if I needed to be somewhere, I would probably be getting dressed for about an hour, trying on loads of different clothes. It affects you psychologically, but it's not a mental illness. You know, it's not classified as a mental illness, but it affects you mentally in the sense of you definitely have mental health, you know, as a result of sort of stuff like that comes with it. But I wouldn't classify it as a mental illness at all.
Yeah.
Because I know certain places like Russia, obviously that's sort of very different, but they sort of class it as a mental illness and sort of treat you as, you know, as if you're sort of mentally like incapacitated just because you're trying to sort of build a more comfortable, you know, life for yourself and within yourself. But no, I wouldn't class it as a mental illness.
Yeah.
Have you had much transphobia, Aaron?
Not a lot, which I'm grateful for, because obviously when I'm like, Lindsay, if you saw me in the street or wherever, like I never get misgendered. I used to quite a lot, but not as much anymore. I think transphobia, I think it's sort of people choose to be transphobic because that's the thing that is the most sort of vulnerable part of somebody that's transgender. So they sort of just think, you know, using sort of slurs is sort of like because they know that it's going to affect you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're it's such a big part of somebody. But no, I don't get much transphobia now at all, and I very rarely get misgendered.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? What about children?
You've got your hand over your mic again, babe.
I said this to Lindsay as well in the comments that I sort of the sort of baseline of sort of children is just to tell them just to respect everybody and just everybody's different. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what I mean is, do you want children?
Oh, potentially, but it's not a be all and end all. Do you know what I mean? If it happens, then that's great. But if it doesn't, I'm not like, you know, I'm not sort of broody over it. But maybe one day, and there's obviously avenues I can do that. And if I was to, I would, you know, adopt. But maybe, but it's not the be all and end all for me, to be fair.
Yeah.
I feel like because I've missed out so much on my life already, I sort of want to live a life being this person. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
And because you haven't had bottom surgery, you can freeze your eggs, can't you?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Hand over your mic again, sorry.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Do you go with women, Aaron, or men?
So I go for men. So my partner is also transgender as well. He's been in their lives quite a lot, actually.
So is he trans male?
Yes, yeah. So I think what's good about that as well, obviously, because we understand each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's harder for a trans male to sort of be with a biological male because they sort of, you know, it's hard to sort of explain to them what it feels like if they aren't in them shoes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But like I said, I just thought I'd probably sort of offer in some perspective because I think if topics like this are going to be discussed, it is sort of really handy to have somebody who's walking in them shoes.
What about all these other different terminologies and things? Do you agree with that? Because I'm a believer there's male and female, you know, whether you're trans female or, you know, male or female or not, you know, there's only two genders. I don't agree with this, all this binary, you know, these different terminologies. There's like all these pronouns. Is that what they call them, pronouns? There's like about 100.
Yeah, so like pronouns are obviously something like...
Got your hand over your mic again, sorry.
No, it's all right. Thanks for telling us. It means I need to speak loud. Well, pronouns are just what you use to refer to someone as, but like I say, I mean, there's, you know, there was something on the news that said like there's over 100 different genders. I mean, in my eyes, that's just, it's unheard of. I don't agree with it. I mean, but like I say, I'm not here to say to someone, you are not, you're telling me, you are just, you do you, as long as you're not, killing anybody or, anybody, just, yeah, like, you do you, but, yeah, there's sort of more, there's, like, in my opinion, doesn't matter if you're sort of,
I feel that, Aaron, like with people that want to identify as a dog or a cat or a tree or a child, child's weird, you know what I mean? Identify as all these other things, they're going to probably try and normalize it. And I think that's sick, it's disgusting, because I don't care what anyone says, anyone that wants to identify, and maybe not disgusting is probably the wrong word, because, they're not hurting me, you know what I mean? But anyone that wants to identify as a dog or a cat or this kind of, especially a child, that's sick, I suppose, yeah. To me, that is definitely mental health.
Yeah. But like I say, I mean, people can, it doesn't, I think the thing as well is people don't really care as long as it's not, like, affecting their life.
Yeah.
Like, you do you, like, if you can identify as a toaster, I mean, yeah, good for you. Like, I hope you have a wonderful life as a fucking Russell Hobbs toaster. Like, just.
Oh yeah, listen, they don't hurt me. Listen, I don't judge. You know what I mean? If people can do what they want, that's up to them. Do you know what I mean? Do I think it's weird? Yes. Anyone that wants to identify as a child, which I've also heard of, is sick in the head and they need help. In fact, they probably need locking up because I think that's odd.
Yeah, but. Yeah, just sort of everybody's different. And
yeah.
Not affecting you, then, do what you want as long as you're not, like, unalive, raping, hurting somebody else or inflicting intentional pain on someone else, then you do what you want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd up, I'm always in here anyway, but I tend to sort of hide away in the comments. But
yeah, Royal, why see with the comments, Aaron?
I know, I like jumping up in here though sometimes, especially on, sort of controversial topics like this, because it is interesting to also sort of look at what everybody else is sort of saying and sort of their experiences as well. Then.
Yeah, but also, Aaron, people that, I just feel like that it's also been thrown down children's throats, you know what I mean? Where they've got even changing rooms, Why? How can a child feel, correct me if I'm wrong, please tell me, because I don't know how old you said you were quite young when you felt that way, but it could have been a phase, right? How a child could feel they're in the wrong body at, a very young age.
Yeah, I think, that's not really for us to sort of comment on, but like I was saying before, the whole in schools topic, I think, because, they're still young, they have the rest.
Yep.
Paused.
Hello?
Hello, come here.
I was saying, the whole children thing, like, they have the rest of their lives to, like, figure out what that is, and I think the sort of minimum that you should tell a child is, everybody's different, and just sort of respect that, and, that's it, as they grow older, they will hear about all of this, and I just think when they're young, they just sort of,
well, children are confused, isn't it? They're confused enough, leave them be, I don't think trans should be taught in schools or anything like that. I think children should be just left alone, do you know what I mean? Just be kids, because if I find it confusing, how do you think kids feel? You know what I mean? It's very confusing.
Especially primary schools, you leave them to it to be kids,
You're 18 to decide, you know what I mean? And if that's how you feel when you're a child, I get it. Like you said, you felt it when you was young, did you not, Aaron? You know what I mean? That's okay, but, you got to make sure you're not going through that phase, you know what I mean? And make that decision when you're older, innit?
No, yeah, 100%. And that, that's what I was saying, just sort of enjoy, I love being at primary school because, you were innocent and just sort of, really, really enjoy that. And, as you get older, you might, you will see all this sort of stuff. But like I said, the minimum I would tell a child is just sort of, respect everyone. Everyone's sort of, different, and just appreciate that, but that's sort of, in my opinion, the minimum.
And how old are you now, Aaron?
I'm 19.
You know, going you have this lady, right? Because you know she did make a good point. Also, you know, women what they've had to fight for, what they've had to go through. You know, they've and all that kind of thing. And then you've got someone that you know, and I'm just seeing it from her point of view. You know, the trans woman saying, "I'm a woman." But you didn't suffer. You didn't go. You not suffer. That's the wrong word. But you haven't gone through what women have gone through.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it from her point of view as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, it's different for you because you're trans male.
Yeah, but no, like the video that you were playing before, you know, I did agree with some of the points, and like I say, that sort of, you know, they haven't sort of gone through the sort of, you know, issues that biological female have went through, and sort of, but yeah, sort of.
But what I'm trying to, I suppose, make a point of also is that, you know, you have a trans woman telling a biological woman how it should be. This is how it should be. You're a cis woman. This is what you are. Well, I'm not a cis woman. You know what I mean? I am a woman, and that's it. I don't want to be called a cis woman. I don't do pronouns. Don't ask for my pronouns. You know what I mean? I am a biological woman, and that's it. And that's me. You get what I'm saying? I don't appreciate and you'll probably get this, Aaron, because you're trans male. You know what I mean? You know, someone, you know, all with their bits. It's different for you because you are trans male. You know what I mean? Using female toilets, using the changing rooms. Would I feel comfortable? No. I don't even like a unisex toilet, let alone, do you know what I mean? I don't like it. I won't feel comfortable. Do not push that on me. That's the only thing I have a problem with. Do you know what I mean?
I've always referred to myself as a trans man because I've accepted that, I'll never be a biological man. And, you know, I mean, it sounds harsh, but that's true. You know, like, I would, you know, if anyone said, like, you know, like, what's your gender? I'd always say trans man because, I'll never be a biological man and I'll never go through sort of the things that they go through. But, yeah, that's why I always say trans man, because I'm not, like, you know, as in maybe not ever, I'll never be an actual biological man, and I've accepted that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think I missed a question. I think someone asked you this. Sorry, can you repeat it? Because I think I missed it. What age did you feel the way you felt?
So,
you were in the wrong body.
Like I said, when I was obviously very young, I'd always sort of said to my mum, sort of, you know, when am I going to be a boy? And then it sort of didn't really, I'd say probably about 11 or 12, because that was when obviously I started puberty. So that's when I feeling sort of, you know, all these changes started happening, and, you know, it was really hard. But
I have a question, because people say you're born the way you're born. You know, you're born with it, these feelings, right? You know, when you're born, you feel like you were born in the wrong body. Do you think environmental kind of, you know, what's around you has something to do with it as well? I mean, you know, when you were little, were you always, you know, surrounded by boys, and that's kind of how you felt because you were surrounded by boys, or was it just that's just how you felt?
It's a good question, and I would say both, because I was, you know, very masculine in sort of, even in little ways, like you say, I was always, you know, hanging around with boys. I got on with boys more and felt comfortable more compared to sort of girls. I was, you know, very sort of, when we were sort of playing like pretend games or whatever, I'd always take the male role, like, automatically, like it was just something that I'd say, like, yeah, you know, I'll be such and such or whatever. But yeah, so like I say, it's a bit of both, because I was surrounded by boys and sort of, I was obviously also surrounded by girls, but I felt more comfortable, more sort of free around them compared to sort of girls. I sort of felt like, you know, I never sort of fitted in, and I was sort of always a bit, I felt like I sort of shouldn't have been there. It's kind of hard to describe it. It was like a sort of out of body experience. Like, I was looking, obviously I wouldn't like realise that when I was sort of younger, but sort of looking back now, it was sort of like looking like looking into me from a different person's eyes and just sort of realising how uncomfortable I sort of was, and I just felt, like I said, that I just didn't fit in and I shouldn't have been around. I'm only looking at the nice comments, so I'm not looking at everything at once because I don't really, you know.
Ignore the other comments. You've done really well.
A lot of good comments.
I was going to ask you. What was going to ask you now? Totally. What's going on? Yeah. So if you're saying about the side, is quite invasive, the surgery and things, but it's also very expensive. If you had the money, would you have that surgery, even though it being quite invasive and all that?
I'd consider it, but to be fair, I probably wouldn't because, like I said, it's really, really more dangerous, to be fair, in the way that they actually do it. And I think because that is such a sort of intimate area, so I'd be scared if obviously something went wrong, it would sort of, it would make it more painful and more sort of hard to go through than to actually enjoy it and sort of appreciate it, because I've done a lot of research into it, and it is a very it's because they sort of take like fat and skin sort of from your arms.
I mean, you're only 19 anyway, haven't you? So you've got a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'd always consider it. But for right now, I'm happy with what I've done.
Can I ask you a question? Does it affect your mental health, knowing that you haven't, okay, you might not want the surgery, okay, fair enough, but does it upset you? Does it affect your mental health that you're not? Do you know what I mean? That you still got your bits.
Yes and no, because obviously when I was on sort of the gel testosterone, if I'd sort of missed a dose or whatever, you can actually still get, your periods can still come back.
Nice.
Yes, it did at that time, but now I think I've sort of had to be wise for my age, I think, and I just sort of think, like, if it happens and if I do later on, then that's good, but then if not, it's who I am anyway, and I think that isn't going to change that, and I'm not going to feel less about myself in the sense of that I know, like, I'm not going to lose purpose, if that makes sense.
What do you think of EQ, when she goes at, like, Mama Kaz and Alpha Buff and not being trans, saying that they're not willing to transition, although I have read that if you don't need to transition, to be identified as trans. Do you feel that sometimes maybe because she's gone through such a hard, tough journey in her life, she feels, well, I'm trans because I've gone through that surgery and I've gone through that journey and it was tough and it was hard. You've gone through nothing. Do you feel that she may think that as to why she identifies Mama Kaz and Alpha Buff as a male? Because I do kind of get that.
Yeah.
Gone through hell and back. Do you get what I'm saying? With it, probably. I assume she has. You know what I mean? A tough journey. Why? So why is someone that has always gone? So I'll just tell you anyway. So there you are. So why that someone that has not had the surgery, that has not gone through what she's gone through, the journey, can also identify as trans. I kind of get it.
I think as well, though, if she wasn't in a position where she was at the time, where she was able to get it done for free, then I think her opinion will be incredibly different compared to where she...
Did you get it for free, Aaron?
Yeah, she did, I think. I think she did,
Yeah, she got it on Botched Up Body, Jen. She's celebrity Botched Up Bodies.
Yeah, well, that makes it very different then, doesn't it? Because
it's a very good clinic as well. Look, that's what Aaron's probably saying. Look, the price of it is expensive. You could go to Turkey, get a bodge job, or you pay 20 grand and get it done correctly.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a risk anyway to any operation.
Yeah, well, that makes it very different then, isn't it? But even though she's gone through hell and back and, going through that journey, she hasn't paid for it either. You can't criticise other people. If you've got yours for free, you know, and you're saying, Aaron, it's a very expensive procedure, you know, and also you got the risks on top of that, haven't you?
Yeah, but like I said,
Why someone will not want, you know, even though they feel, listen, I'm in the wrong body, I want to be a female, I want to be male, whatever it may be, but however, you're scared about getting the actual surgery.
yeah, and I mean, like I say, if she didn't get it for free, then I apologise, but that's what I thought and known. But yeah, like I say, I think because for example, someone with Elphaba, because I think she does piss me off a bit, because obviously she's had all of this money from TikTok and stuff, and she has been put in a position where she can actually, you know, do things that other people can't. And I think, you know, I think a while ago she said she was going to use the money for like vocal training or something like that. But I think I don't know what her intentions are, but I just wish that sort of, you know, like I say, she's had that money and that opportunity to do it, and she hasn't. Whether if I was her, if I had got all this money on TikTok and sort of blown up the way that she has, you know, I would be thinking very different compared to her, as opposed to, you know, what I would do with the money. Because, like I said, she's been put in that position.
I'm confused, Aaron, because, you know, when I asked you about if you had that money, would you get the surgery? You said probably not.
Yeah, because I said before I'd consider it, but I've done a lot of research on it. But I said probably not, because there's a lot of risks with it, and it's even more dangerous than, you know, getting sort of top surgery, which I had, because I had a double mastectomy. But so many things can go wrong with that kind of surgery, and if it went wrong and turned out to be horrific, then that would stop me, you know, appreciating it and sort of be suffering even more, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I think.
Well, people have
More questions, guys. Does anybody want to ask? Does anyone have any more questions to ask Aaron?
I think you've covered it. But you spoke really well, Aaron. Everyone, you know, big respect.
Thanks so much.
You done really good, Aaron.
I think you covered most questions.
Yeah, you mean spot on with questions.
I didn't know people would send me gifts, but you don't need to send me gifts at all. You know, I just thought I'd pop up and sort of share my experience.
Can't hear you, you're muffled.
I was just saying, people were sending me gifts, but you don't need to send me any gifts. You know, it was just sort of me, because I like topics like this as well, and I think, because Andrew, you've done it quite a bit, and I miss your debates as well, because I mean, the first time I jumped in your box and this, I was so scared.
No, we are. Sorry.
Yeah. I will, you know what, I will start maybe doing a debate once a week or something. You know, I think we should do a debate a week. So let's start from Tuesday, guys. A debate. Let's do a debate every Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do it every Tuesday, say 4 p.m. Let's do 4 p.m. Because that's when I used to do the debates. 4 p.m. every Tuesday. We will have a debate.
I think what it was, though, you covered a lot of debates over, you know, a short period of time, so there wasn't really anything to debate.
Yeah.
Aaron, I would just like to use
Sorry.
your story.
What, sorry?
I'd just like to thank you for sharing your story.
No problem, anytime. I know someone in the comments has just wrote, am I happy the way I am now? Yes, I'm very happy, and it's took a long time to get to this point, and I've still got the rest of my life to live it. But I also don't regret who I was when I wasn't Aaron. Do you know what I mean? And I think it would be wrong to say if, like, I did, you know, regret being a girl, you know, regretted the way I grew up, because I wouldn't have had them experiences, and I wouldn't have been taught the lessons that I got taught. But like I say, I don't regret any of it. But yeah, I'm just sort of looking forward to live the rest of my life the way that, you know, I want to, essentially.
I think
You
you know what,
choose to,
also with-
basically.
Yeah, exactly. I think also with you, Aaron, it's a lot easier because you're trans male.
Yeah.
You know, with a trans female, I think there's a lot of, you know what I mean? You know, you got the you know, female sports, the prisons, you know, the changing rooms and all that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a little bit different, but I mean, am I wrong for saying that?
No, I think I don't like it's not easier in the sense of sort of the way it's done, but it's more complicated in the sense of like if you're a trans female, there's a lot of more stigma attached to sort of like societal issues and sort of like obviously you've just said. But I think it is a lot harder because of that and the way sort of, you know, society, you know, the sort of societal issues like trans women playing sort of, they shouldn't be allowed to play women's sports, sorry, you know, the prisons. And obviously I study criminology as well. So I sort of look into it a lot. And it is really interesting, but like I say, it's not, what am I trying to say? It's not easier because we both share the same, you know, we're both wanting the same and sort of transition, but it's very different in terms of this whole societal sort of things that come with it and sort of the stigma that's attached to it.
Can I ask you another? So sorry for all the questions. Can I ask you,
I feel like I'm paid 21 questions.
how do men feel about it when they find out that you're trans male?
I'm not sure because not a lot of them actually, like if I'm out and about, like not obviously a lot of people assume that I am a biological male. So I've not actually had that encounter yet when I've had to sort of actually, I tell a lie. So obviously I'm in university and all of my flatmates at the time were all men. And luckily, obviously, they sort of didn't care, and they said to me, like, if you hadn't have told me, I would have just thought you were a biological male. Luckily, most of them so far have been sort of, you know, supportive and was like, you do you. But I very rarely get misgendered, if ever, when I'm sort of out and about or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm very lucky for... Obviously, not a lot of people are, you know, fortunate in that way.
Yeah.
That's like with EQ. I didn't know until somebody said it. I thought, you know, I wouldn't have known.
Can I ask you
That's
another
the same
question?
thing.
Yes.
If you was to get into a fight with a male, obviously, you know, it's going to be different because you are a biological female. Does that concern you?
Do you mean a verbal fight or like an actual fight?
Say a physical fight. Someone started on you. You know, they see you as a male. You know, they say, "Well, you are a male." Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but you are a male. But biologically, you're not, right? So, does that concern you?
No, not really, because it would probably take a lot for me to actually get in a physical fight. But I'm very heavy-handed anyway, and I think when I was growing up as a woman, I was very sort of like, you know, I don't know what the word is, like bulky, let's say. Like I'm very tall and sort of like very sort of heavy-handed, but it would sort of probably take a lot for me to get in a physical fight with a man anyway, I think. And I think if it came to that, because I know that if they did find out that, you know, I'm biologically a woman, they will probably just like, you know, see that as something to just goad me with and sort of, you know, attack on. But like I say, it took a long time for me to sort of realise to just, you know, just walk away. Like, it's not worth it, because if I'm, you know, if they're sort of having a fight and I'm like knocking 7 bells out of them, that's not going to make anything better.
Yeah.
It's going to make things worse. It's not going to solve anything. But hopefully I don't get into any fights.
Yeah.
But
But what about when you go to your hospital and things? Are you treated like a, you know, like a female?
no, well, depending on what it is. I mean, you know, I've got male on my birth certificate. Because I got something it's called a gender recognition certificate, where you can actually change your birth certificate so it says male on. But when I'm in hospital, you know, for wherever it is, I'm treated as a male. Obviously, if it's something like, I don't know, like if I went to the doctors and said I had a water infection, you know, because I'm obviously a biological female, they wouldn't, you know, like on...
But blood tests are very different, you know, from, you know, with male and female.
Yeah, I think because I get my bloods, obviously, so I've got testosterone in my blood, so that obviously comes up, in my blood test when I have them. So I've got to get them checked as well for the testosterone to make sure it's not like destroying my liver or anything like that. But yeah, like I say, like, you know, them consult things you can do online. I think one of the questions was like, what is your sex? And in brackets, it's like the one you assigned at birth. But obviously they know I'm trans.
Yeah.
I put female because, you know, I don't have, you know, men's part, like bits, as it, you know what I mean? And I don't have any issue with saying like female because I need whatever's wrong with me fixed. And obviously it does hurt, but like it is what it is. Like I'm never gonna escape the fact that I still have those parts, so it's always gonna be there. But like I said, with doctors and stuff, it's quite straightforward actually.
Yeah. But I think it's amazing.
Would you still have to have a smear test as well? Well, yeah, but then at the same time, obviously it's very uncomfortable, but then I'd rather have one than actually, you know...
Can I ask you a medical question? Yeah. If you was to have the surgery, oh my God, I can't believe I'm even asking you this. But if you was to have the surgery for the bottom half, there's no way you'd even be able to have a smear, right?
Well, no, because obviously they put it's a skin graft, yeah, so probably say no. But like I said before, I probably wouldn't get it anyway. But a smear, I think it's still very important, you know, whether I still have them, you know, because I still have them bits. It's still very important because if there's something wrong with me, then I wouldn't know that. And if I was to refuse having a smear test, then I could have something, you know, I could have something like cancer, you know, and not even know about it.
Would the cervix be taken away if you was to have the surgery?
I'm guessing so, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to say yes, and then obviously people bash me in the comments. So.
Yeah. And another question, because you've had your breast removed, so obviously, you know, you don't need to do. Obviously, if you was to be a lot older, you wouldn't really need to, I suppose, have mammograms or anything like that. No. I'm sorry if this is a question, sir.
If I didn't want to answer, I wouldn't answer.
And can I just say, males can still get breast cancer?
Yeah, I know you call it 100%, but it's not as common. It's quite rare, isn't it, for male cancer with the breasts? Would you still need to have mammograms and things if you've had your breast removed?
I'm guessing so, but I'm not sure because I've never been put in that situation. But like I say, if I had to have that, if I had to have a smear test, then obviously I'd rather do that and know that everything's all right rather than refuse because of my sort of stubbornness and then find out there's actually something wrong and I've been ignoring it just because I, you know, was refused.
Yeah, people in Aaron are saying no, not after you've had them removed.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks, because I didn't even know that either.
Yeah, but don't you know, ask your doctor. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, we've known on these lives that, you know, we should ask our doctors, not use Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Well, do you think, you know, trans women and trans female, the surgery, do you think it'll be a lot, it's more invasive if you want to become a trans male? To have the bottom surgery?
If what? Sorry, if it
You think
was.
it's more invasive, more, with some more side effects and everything else. If you wanted to become a male, then say like EQ wanted to become a woman.
Probably, but like I say, I'm not sure because I'm not trying. You know what I mean? But I imagine so because it's a very, in general, it doesn't matter if you're transitioning from male to female. It's still a very, it's a very sort of an intimate area and sort of sensitive as well, I suppose.
Yeah. Does anyone have any more questions? Any more guys? Anyone? Any Capiche? Zayana, CJ, any more questions?
Can't think of anything. You just covered all the
jump up. And like I said, Aaron, you don't have to answer any questions you don't want to answer if you don't feel comfortable. But does anyone want to jump up and ask any questions?
I'm just, obviously, you're not going through, obviously the full transition at the moment. You haven't decided whether you want to do that or not.
Good question.
But will you still have the same nerve endings if you were to have, obviously, the male part, as when a male turns to a female, the sensitivity and the nerve endings are still in there?
Yeah. I think they can do it so that obviously they can. Obviously, once you've sort of finished, you've got the surgery, the bottom surgery. They can make it so it's like fully. How can I say this? Like it's fully working, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A massive risk.
Working.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. Yeah.
Isn't there like a massive risk where like they could ruin like that so you wouldn't feel any sensation?
Yeah, that's why, like I say, it's so invasive and it's so obviously that area is so sensitive. It's so, do you know what I mean? Which is why I feel as if it would put me in a more like enjoyment of it.
Aaron, did you say that your partner is a trans male as well?
Yeah.
Are you muffled? Oh, Shirley, you're in the box.
He's been in this box once, I think, as well, actually.
So how's his journey going? Like, are you sort of on the same level, or shall I meet Charlie Ange?
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
So he is on hormones, but he doesn't obviously have the funds to go private like I did. So he's got like a GoFundMe and stuff. So he is obviously trying as much as he, as he possibly can. But yeah, he's on hormones, and
Can I ask a really stupid question here, Kevin?
Yeah, go on.
So you've had the top surgery, not the bottom surgery. You're biologically a female, right? Okay. And you're with someone that's also trans, who's also was born a female.
Yeah.
So would that make you also gay?
No, because he is, a trans. Do you mean gay as in obviously like heterosexual?
Yeah, like as when you were younger, did you fancy girls or women? Oh yeah, girls.
No, so I just like people for who they are. Do you know what I mean?
And Aaron's partner's a male, so he was a female, and then so they're both sort of trans males.
Yeah, but what I mean is when he was younger, before he had surgery at the top, was it, as he was like girls?
I mean, I just, I was with people for sort of who they are. Like, I didn't really care if they were like a boy or a girl.
We go for personality.
I'm sorry, guys. I told you it was a stupid question.
No, it's not a stupid question. I mean, especially in contexts like this, because other people probably want to know the answer, but they don't want to ask. Like I say, I just sort of, I go for personality, and then just sort of the actual person that I sort of fall in love with. But yeah, like, it's definitely not a stupid question.
Would you go for males as well? If you fancied someone that's male?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, obviously my partner's, a trans male.
I'm sorry, biological male. I'm getting confused.
No, it's all right. But yeah, like I say, like if they if they like me for who I am and sort of, you know, respect me and will take me as I am, then yeah, like I don't really care, like if you're a man or a woman, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Does anyone have any more questions? Anybody want to jump up and ask any questions? It's all about education. Guys, if you want to jump up, we've got like 20 people in the box. If you want to jump up, can you make a comment, please? Because I don't know if people want to...
So
Aaron,
you're basically pansexual then. That's what you're saying, is you just go for the person, who they are, who you're attracted to.
Pansexual.
To be fair, I don't really like labels, you know what I mean? Like, I just fall in love for love.
Yeah, and I like that answer, Aaron, exactly, because that's a label, isn't it, being pansexual? There's no label. You fall in love with whoever you fall in love with.
so Aaron, if you don't mind us asking, how much did it cost you for like your top surgery in total?
Including, because obviously my mum went with me. It was in Hull, so including I paid for everything, to the hotel and stuff, and I think it was about 8.5.
Wow.
But like I say, I was put in an unfortunate position. You know, the circumstances weren't the best, but I got sort of obviously.
Oh, like compensation of something.
Yeah. So obviously,
right.
but like I say, I'm obviously, you know, it was a blessing and also a curse, really.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron, I know that you said that you started to. Sorry, Ange.
Can I just ask this one question before I forget, because I get this awful brain fog. What age did you have your surgery?
18.
19?
18.
Oh, 18.
Yeah, so I got it in last October.
Sorry, Richie, baby.
No, you're all right, Ange. I know that you said that you started your hormones at 16. What age mentally did you thought that you wanted to change?
And I was, like I said before, like I was always, when I was sort of really young, I was saying to my mum, like, when am I going to be a boy and stuff like that. But then as I grew older, about 11, sort of 12, and sort of puberty hit and sort of all the changes started happening, that's sort of when, you know, it became more apparent.
What did your parents think about it, Aaron?
I was going to say, how did your mum react at such a young age to say that you want to become a boy?
The very, very first conversation I had about it, she said sort of, you know, if you feel that way, obviously that's okay, and you talk to someone about it. And then when I started privately, like I say, my dad is sort of old school, and my mum made sort of a good point that obviously it's going to be hard to adjust, which it obviously is. I would never expect someone to expect them to get every single thing right that I'm asking of them in such a big situation overnight. But they got used to it, and I'm really glad they got used to it. Because like I say...
Sometimes get it wrong, Aaron. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
What, sorry, did they ever get it wrong?
Yeah, and say the wrong thing.
Yeah, of course they didn't. I think some people, especially transitioning, like if they get it wrong, they just need to remember that it's not intentionally, because they're on the same journey as you, and you know, in terms of learning, and stuff like that, and they're trying. And I'm not the kind of person that, like, if I just told them and then a week later they call me what I used to be called, I wouldn't get offended. You know, I wouldn't be offended at them, because it's a huge thing to ask.
What was the rest of your family like, Aaron? Like, do they sometimes still misgender you, like, or call you by your dead name, or?
No, they don't actually. Which is, my family's quite big, and I sort of only say a small fraction of them. But like I say, you know, they adapted sort of eventually, and you know, it was always, you know, it was going to be hard, but.
When does this trans community come about? You know what I mean? The word trans, and because I never heard about it really until it came on TikTok.
What is in like trans people?
Well, you know, all these terminologies, and you know.
There has been transgender people around for years. I think ever since sort of the 1940s, was when the sort of first the first sort of bottom surgery sort of happened. So it has been around for a long time. And I think with my parent, obviously with my mum as well, what I had to understand that she was grieving in a way, grieving for the daughter that she had, and I 100% get that. And while she was happy and sort of accept me to be her son, and I understood it from her perspective, that she sort of, was grieving, I think.